A little bit late, but here's another FAQ. So what's my current occupation? So currently I'm starting to move towards doing live sound engineering and a little bit of light work. The main idea behind doing sound engineering is that it's good for the networking, so you start learning the local scene and who's there. And I hope to try and find out some more musicians that I might be able to work with in the future. It's kind of pulled on from where I started getting interested in the mixing of music and production of music. It seemed like a logical step to go to live sound engineering, as there's quite a lot of crossover. So once you know about your EQs and your compressions and how things should sit in a mix, you can transfer it over to live sound. I've been doing it for a couple of local bands now. I've done a couple of local festivals, a couple of slightly more different things, so some kind of plays and production bits and pieces. But it's interesting, long hours, but interesting. Am I currently going to uni? Not anymore. I've done 2 degrees. I did a performance degree to start with on guitar, so I've learned all the theory on guitar and playing, stagecraft and all that. And then I went back and did a master's in music composition, so looking more at kind of classical composition and how it's mixing in with contemporary composition. And for that I wrote a metal album. I got a degree for a metal album. I may go back again at some point if I can find an interesting topic to study. I would quite like to study metal at PhD level, maybe one day. And advice for beginners, I would suggest YouTube is a great resource, the internet in general. I would suggest getting Guitar Pro as a program. It's very useful for finding tabs and then slowing them down so you can kind of really hone in on some of the more intricate picking patterns and so on. I would also suggest, if you can afford it, do get private lessons, find a good tutor, and there's a lot that you will pick up from a tutor that you won't pick up from online. The tutor would be able to kind of look at your picking hands and suggest, oh, maybe try it this way or something, that you won't get from just watching people online. Do I play a 7-string? No, I don't at the moment, but I do want one because there's a lot I want to do. Suggestions of 7-strings, I would say either quartz, LTDs. If you're on a budget, I'm hearing pretty decent things about the Harley Benton stuff as well. So any of those, as long as it's kind of got a humbucker in it, it's probably going to do the job just fine to start with. What bands influenced me when I was first getting into metal? So I started pretty much with System of a Down, Trivium on Ascendancy, Disturbed, while not metal in the same way, hard rock, whatever you want to call it. It was still heavy at the time. Lamb of God was probably the one that I listened to a lot and the most, and the one that I really started learning a lot of their song. It then kind of moved on to Devil Driver, Black Label Society, getting into Iron Maiden, and it's just kept growing from there. My tastes have got a lot heavier now as well, so things like Behemoth, Flesh God Apocalypse, Septic Flesh, all of the kind of heavy stuff. But it's also gone the other way, so I quite like Eamon Tobin, who someone else has picked up in a question. I like Pendulum as well. I like a bit of Eminem. So it's kind of gone from a little bit of heavy to very heavy and the complete opposite. John Five as well is a great guitarist. He does a lot of country stuff and bluegrass bits, and really into that kind of stuff too. So a bit of a mix. What do I think of Slipknot's new album? Need to listen to it a bit more, but it's pretty solid on the whole so far. There's a good mix of kind of classic style Slipknot riffs, but then there's also the more, for them, experimental stuff and a bit more ambient stuff. I think there's a good balance of it. It's not just fan service of, oh, let's redo Iowa. It's a nice mix of, here's some heavy riffs, but here's where we are now as a band. While some of the more experimental stuff maybe doesn't stick and have the same kind of hooks and grooves, it's a good balance. It keeps the record interesting. It keeps your kind of dynamics of having your peaks and then your quiet moments, and then you build up the tension again. So what other artists in IDM and similar genres am I into? Eamon Tobin, as we mentioned already. Aphex Twin, a lot of crazy, odd stuff. DJ Shadow as well, he's got some interesting stuff. Venetian Snares is again very odd stuff in there some places. My knowledge on it isn't hugely broad at the moment. I just know bits and pieces of it, and that mainly came from a tutor I had while I was studying my composition degree. On the whole, I still need to kind of listen and learn a bit more about it all, but it's nice for a change from straight up metal. Metal can get sometimes a bit too much, and it's nice to kind of see what other people are doing in other genres and how you can pull that across. I do like it when the crossover happens between kind of electronic music and metal. The algorithm is probably one of my favourites for when they're crossing over. So some Swallow the Sun songs will come some point soonish, hopefully. I've just got to pick a decent one that I kind of think will make an interesting video. Some of them are quite long and I've not got the most interesting guitar parts isolated, so it's trying to find a one that's good on guitar but also interesting for other people to listen to. So will I be doing any Gojira actual lessons in the future? I am now looking at trying to sort out some very short clips, so we're going to look at like the different techniques, so how they do their pick scrapes, how they make use of inverted power chords, how they make use of the different time structures. They're going for like a 6/4 followed by a 4/4 bar and looping round. So I will look at trying to make something short and bite-sized for kind of either different ways of writing and playing. So look out for that coming soon-ish. So favourite Metallica riffs, there's probably too many. I like their classic stuff. There's on the kind of first 4 albums, so Battery, Ride the Lightning, Fight Fire with Fire, Dyer's Eve, all the kind of classic stuff. I like some of the more groovy stuff like Fuel. I quite like Hardwired as well, so I have no singular favourite riff, but there are a lot of good riffs. Great Fuel, downpicking as well. So how do I make riffs interesting? My suggestion would be variation. Variation's a very important thing to have within songs. So you might play a riff one way, say like palm muted the first time, but on the repeat you wouldn't palm mute it. It's a small change, but it's enough of a change for your ear to pick out and go, oh, something different, it's changed it slightly. Another example would be maybe the first time round you gallop a riff and bum bada bum bada bum bada bum, and the next time round you could just do straight up tremolo picking and da 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 da. If you're doing chords, kind of chord based riffs or something, use different voicings for the chords. So it's a lot of repetition but changing how it's repeated. Don't stick to just 4/4. Try looking at 5/8, 12/8, 6/4, mixing it up a little bit. Sometimes straight 4/4. There's so much of it, it can get a little bit boring. With riffs as well, it's how the riff plays with the other instruments and how they interconnect. So if you wanted to make a 4/4 guitar groove a little bit more interesting, you could put offbeat drum groove underneath of it, and it's how the drums then interact with the guitar that makes it interesting. So you've got to think how the riff interacts with everyone else in the song, and that also adds interest. How do I build up a song structure wise? I tend to write my songs guitar first. I tend to just write from start to finish, and I use Guitar Pro a lot because I can copy and paste things and move things around a lot quicker than I can recording wise. I tend to probably do start, as I say, with the intro and then come up with a verse. Occasionally I'll have a riff or section that'll be like, oh no, that's better as a chorus, how can I now fit other things around it? Then I'll probably do bass and drums. Vocals come last because I'm mainly a guitarist. And I will then start looking at the structure of it and say, okay, this is boring, it's just intro, verse, chorus, chorus. What can I do to change it? So I might say, okay, first verse might be a verse and a half or a double verse, and then a single chorus. Or, as I mentioned, I would slightly change how it's played, the chorus or the verse, to just very slightly alter the structure. I hope that helps. I'll do a bit of a longer video on it at some point that explains it a bit more in detail, because there's quite a lot to go into. So, which up and coming metal releases I'm most excited about? Recently saw that there's a new Hypocrisy album coming out at some point, and there's also a new Lindemann album coming out at some point. So what song helped most with my playing? One of the songs that I know I grafted on for a long time to try and nail would have been Lamb of God's Walk Me in Hell. The intro riff's got some kind of tricky alternate picking going on there. The verse, there's some intricacies with, there's kind of very small gallops in between the main. The solo's got a lot of interesting little widdly doodly bits in it, so there's a mix of kind of bluesy bits in there, pentatonic stuff. So yeah, Lamb of God, Walk Me in Hell helped a lot, and the rest of their songs as well. There's a lot of weird fingerings in there, which is good for the dexterity. More recently, I play a lot of Gojira now. That's been helping a lot with the older songs that I've been doing with the tremolo picking. So I hope you found that one interesting. I will do another FAQ a lot sooner next time. If you've got any more questions, comments, etc. down below, and I'll either answer them in the comment section or next FAQ. I do have original music out if you are new to the channel and you don't know about me. It's called Light of the Diamond, and it comes under the name Shadow Mantra. So if you look for Shadow Mantra on whichever streaming platform, YouTube and Google as well, I've got a website, you can find it there. If you want to buy a CD, put a comment below, we'll try and sort it out for you. They will be available through my website. It's about 100 or so left at the moment. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all soon.